And our other major breaking story tonight, Vincent Schiraldi is out as Secretary of Juvenile Services effective on Wednesday.
Schiraldi served at DJS for just over 2 years as the department faced backlash over what critics called lenient policies surrounding young offenders. Governor Moore says Secretary Schiraldi brought decades of experience to DJS.
But in recent weeks, the governor has been non-committal when pressed about whether Secretary Schiraldi was the right person to lead the department. Betsy Fox Tolentino will be the interim director. She's currently the managing director of juvenile and young adult initiatives at ROCA, a violence interventions group in Baltimore City.
Now, Carroll County Sheriff Jim DeWees has been an outspoken critic of Secretary Schiraldi. I spoke with him earlier tonight about today's decision. Here's our conversation. Sheriff DeWees, you've been an outspoken critic of Secretary Schiraldi, calling him even a public safety liability in recent months. What's your reaction to this really juggernaut news today in the state of Maryland?
Yeah, I have. I've been pretty tough on the secretary and the governor, but for good reason. I would like to say I'm not shocked. I think it's about time that the governor made that decision. I fully understand that. And if you're leading an organization, a state like the governor is, even my police department, personnel decisions are very, very difficult. But for me, and I think for the governor, this is probably an easy one to make. It was about time for the secretary to move on.
Sheriff DeWees, do you think this will be enough to curb the juvenile crime that we've been seeing across the state? And obviously we know there's going to be somebody in that role in an interim period, so the governor will have to make a permanent selection, of course.
Yeah, he's put, I think, Betsy Tolentino in as the acting secretary. Now she'll have to receive a Senate confirmation if that's who he actually formally nominates. Does one person change juvenile crime overnight? No. But sweeping policies do, and who the governor nominates, and when they go before the Senate, difficult questions need to be asked of that person. The former secretary did not believe in probation, was half-hearted about GPSing juveniles and holding them accountable for where they were at and what they were doing. And then the former secretary really never spoke much about accountability. It was all about rehabilitation and very little accountability. So those questions need to be asked of the acting secretary and whoever the governor formally nominates to make sure that those policies are put in place, because they do work. And I think we need to go back to some old school DJS policies to hold juveniles accountable and do things a little differently. And this is an opportunity for the governor and DJS to do something differently.
Well, you were specific just now on what you'd like to see: accountability, ankle monitoring, obviously. Those things are important. Let's talk about this real quick, though. Some might argue it's been partisan, but in a sense it hasn't. There have been Democratic state's attorneys, as you know, across the state, even Republican state's attorneys, who've not been happy with the secretary and his direction. What do you think now leaders like yourself in law enforcement and also state's attorneys will be looking for from the next secretary, whoever that person is, on a permanent basis?
I think it's easy, Kai. I think it's a seat at the table. It's a seat at the table to help make decisions on where we go with juvenile reform, with juvenile justice, with accountability. And I don't think that state's attorneys throughout the state, sheriffs, chiefs of police, we haven't had a seat at the table. We've just been at the mercy of the former secretary. So communication, seat at the table. We'd like to see boots on the ground actually out in our communities with DJS, which has been really it's been non-existent. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw an actual DJS agent. So having a seat at the table for the Baltimore City State's Attorney and the Baltimore City Chief of Police and rural sheriffs and state's attorneys like me to help suggest how we can curb the juvenile crime issue is probably number one.
All right. Carroll County Sheriff Jim DeWees talking about the departure of Vincent Schiraldi. Sheriff, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. And I know this will not be our last conversation with you. We'll look forward to talking with you again. Yeah. No, it won't. Yeah. We'll look forward to talking with you again when we find out who this person will be on a permanent basis. As you mentioned, Ms. Tolentino right now, but we'll see what the governor decides to do down the road, right?
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.